Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast. Today is Tuesday, November 8th, 2022. Today I'm going to recap last night's Monday Night Football game. And then we have college football tonight. We'll look ahead to those games. College basketball, NBA, NHL, news and notes, election, and best bet. All right, we're going to start with Monday Night Football. It's a big show today. We'll quickly recap last night's game as the Ravens come out on top by a score of 27-13 as the Ravens improved to 6-3. New Orleans drops to 3-6. Lamar Jackson, 12-22, 233 yards and a touchdown. And Andy Dalton, 19-29, 210 yards and a touchdown. And Taysom Hill threw a pass for 13. When are we going to see Jameis Winston? I'm sorry. We need to see him at some point because I think they have higher upside with Jameis than they do with Andy Dalton. So, Week 9 is complete. Week 10 begins Thursday. And we'll do power rankings probably on Thursday. All right, college football. We have a couple of games tonight. It's all action. At 7 o'clock, we have Eastern Michigan at Akron. My projection is Eastern by 8 total, 56 2/5. And it is 7.5 and 56.5. So close. Oh, slight edge. And I mean the slightest of slightest edges to Eastern Michigan. ESPN 2, Ohio and Miami of Ohio at 7:30. Ohio's favored by 1.5 total is 50.5. I have 3 and 53 and 7/10. So the pick's going to be the over. And last but not least, 8 o'clock on ESPN, Ball State Toledo. So this game will follow the college football playoff rankings, which is awesome. Toledo's favored by a whopping 11.5 total, 50.5. Ooh. I have 5.5 and 57 2/5. Where do I go? Let's go with the over. I have a larger edge on the over, and that is amazing. And I actually like the over a lot too. So give me over 50.5 for that game. All right, now I'm going to simply go through the college basketball scores. Zip, zip, zip. And then look ahead to today's much smaller slate. Number 5, Baylor over Mississippi Valley State, 117-53. Middle Tennessee over Brescia, 79-52. Prairie View over Kansas Christian, 94-79. Stanford over Pacific, 88-78. James Madison over Valley Forge, 123-38. UNT Greensboro over Johnson and Wales, North Carolina, 93-60. Harvard over Morehouse, 68-63. Oakland over Defiance, 92-27. Milwaukee over Milwaukee School of Engineering, 104-46. UMass Lowell over Fisher College, 108-43. Charlotte over Coppin State, 82-59. Number 4, Kentucky over Howard, 95-63. Number 16, Villanova over LaSalle, 81-68. Number 22, Michigan over Purdue Fort Wayne, 75-56. App State over Warren Wilson, 142-74. Butler over New Orleans, 89-53. St. John's over Merrimack, 97-72. Number 7, Duke over Jacksonville, 71-44. Number 11, Tennessee over Tennessee Tech, 75-43. Number 13, Indiana over Morehead State, 88-53. Number 24, Dayton over Lindenwood, 73-46. North Alabama over Oakland, 108-51. Kennesaw State over LaGrange, 99-56. St. Fran Brooklyn over Mount St. Mary, New York, 96-46. Coastal Carolina over St. Mary's, Maryland, 97-43. Presbyterian over Carolina University, 76-42. Troy over Monteval, 87-67. Toledo over Valpo, 85-70. Ball State over Earlham, 109-31. Akron over South Dakota State, 81-80 in overtime. Indiana State over Green Bay, 80-53. Bucknell over Lebanon Valley, 113-52. NCAT over Edward Waters, 100-61. Alon over X-Screen, 80-56. Delaware over Wilmington, Delaware, 78-54. Davidson over Guilford, 87-64. St. Peter's over NJIT, 73-59. Bryant over Thomas College, 147-39. Yeah, that's over 100. That's crazy. Buffalo over Colgate, 88-87. Siena over Holy Cross, 75-68. FAU over Lynn, 81-46. Wofford over Bob Jones, 120-48. Cincinnati over Chamada, 98-55. Towson over Albany, 67-62. FAU over Houston Christian, 77-66. Old Dominion over Maryland Eastern, 84-65. Denver over Idaho, 68-63. Wagner over Temple, 76-73 in overtime. Kent State over Northern Kentucky, 79-57. Notre Dame College over Cleveland State, 72-68. So Cleveland State loses a bye game. That's bad. VC over Manhattan, 73-56. St. Bonaventure over St. Fran, PA, 71-58. Quinnipiac over Rhode Island, 67-62. George Washington over Virginia State, 85-58. Yale over Sarah Lawrence, 96-41. Iona over Penn, 78-50. Vermont over Brown, 80-65. Bowling Green over Air Force, 62-58. East Tennessee State over Emory and Henry, 88-66. Queens over Marshall, 83-82. Welcome to D1 Queens. Wow. Liberty over Regent, 104-38. Richmond over VMI, 69-48. Furman over North Greenville, 91-55. Michigan State over Northern Arizona, 73-55. Arizona State over Tarleton, 62-59. Rutgers over Columbia, 75-35. Penn State over Winthrop, 93-68. Ohio State over Robert Morris, 91-53. Maryland over Niagara, 71-59. Iowa over Bethune, 89-58. West Virginia over Mount St. Mary, 76-58. Pitt over UT Martin, 80-58. Stetson over Florida State, 83-74. Clemson over the Citadel, 80-69. Eastern Kentucky over Miami of Ohio, Middletown, 137-52. Binghamton over Casnovia, 87-56. New Hampshire over Braddock, 79-47. Eastern Michigan over Wayne State, 75-66. Youngstown State over Canisius, 92-81. Wazoo over Texas State, 83-61. BU over Northeastern, 72-63. Hofstra over Princeton, 83-77. Charleston over Chattanooga, 85-78. Army over Keystone, 110-65. Miss State over A&M Corpus Christi, 63-44. Belmont over Ohio, 79-69. Or no, 70-69. Wow. SC Upstate over Brevard, 90-42. Georgia Tech over Clayton, 93-63. Navy over William & Mary, 74-59. UMass over Central Connecticut, 94-67. Fordham over Dartmouth, 88-74. UAB over Alabama State, 111-70. Norfolk State over Virginia University of Lynchburg, 109-59. UConn over Stonehill, 85-54. Miami over Lafayette, 67-54. Xavier over Morgan State, 96-73. DePaul over Loyola, Maryland, 72-66. Number 3, Houston over Northern Colorado, 83-36. Number 5, Kansas over Omaha, 89-64. Number 10, Arkansas over North Dakota State, 76-58. Number 14, TCU over Arkansas Pine Bluff, 73-72. Number 15, Auburn over George Mason, 70-52. North Texas over Southern Nazarene, 53-47. App Christian over Jackson State, 65-56. Samford over Anderson, South Carolina, 109-85. SIU Edwardsville over Harris Stowe, 85-57. UIC over Trinity, Illinois, 82-48. Western Illinois over Illinois State, 71-68. Illinois Springfield over Northern Illinois, 83-77. Southern Illinois over Little Rock, 94-63. Grambling over North Texas Dallas, 82-57. High Point over Pfeiffer, 111-71. Charleston Southern over Toccoa Falls, 83-52. Campbell over St. Augustine, 79-62. McNeese over Champion Christian, 110-54. Lamar over St. Thomas, Texas, 63-61. Lincoln, Missouri upsets Kansas City, 59-56. Arkansas State over Harding, 86-55. Georgia State over Coastal Georgia, 76-59. Southern Miss over William Carey, 75-42. Bradley over Wisconsin Parkside, 93-59. Southeast Missouri State upsets South Florida, 64-61. UNC Asheville upsets UCF, 98-95 in double overtime. St. Louis over Murray State, 91-68. Loyola Chicago over Fairleigh Dickinson, 88-82 in overtime. UTSA over Trinity, Texas, 74-47. Wichita State over Central Arkansas, 79-55. Northwestern over Chicago State, 85-54. Nebraska over Maine, 79-66. Sam Houston over Oklahoma, 52-51. That's crazy. Iowa State over IUPUI, 88-39. Memphis over Vandy, 76-67. A&M over UL Monroe, 87-54. Missouri over Southern Indiana, 97-91. Georgia over Western Carolina, 68-55. Florida over Stony Brook, 81-45. Wake over Fairfield, 71-59. Syracuse over Lehigh, 90-72. NC State over Austin P 99-50. BC over Cornell 79-77. Number 9 Creighton over St. Thomas, Minnesota 73-60. Number 20 Alabama over Longwood 75-54. Northern Iowa over Wartburg 105-49. Louisiana over Centenary, Louisiana 106-55. Evansville over Miami of Ohio 78-74. Southeast Louisiana over Loyola, Louisiana 90-72. North Dakota over Incarnate Word 65-57. SMU over Texas A&M Commerce 77-60. Tulane over UMBC 89-67. Colorado over UC Riverside 82-66. Wisconsin over South Dakota 85-59. Marquette over Radford 79-69. Number 1 North Carolina over UNC Wilmington 69-56. Number 2 Gonzaga over North Florida 104-63. Number 12 Texas over UTEP 72-57. Number 18 Virginia over NC Central 73-61. Number 23 Illinois over Eastern Illinois 87-57. Number 25 Texas Tech over Northwestern State 73-49. Jacksonville State over Shorter 111-48. New Mexico State over New Mexico Highlands 101-52. Louisiana Tech over Mississippi College 78-61. Wyoming over Colorado Christian 102-69. Tennessee State over Fisk 85-75. Grand Canyon over Montana State 60-54. Oklahoma State over Texas Darlington 77-66. BYU over Idaho State 60-56. Utah State over Utah Valley 75-58. New Mexico over Southern Utah 89-81. Colorado State over Gardner Webb 65-63. Minnesota over Western Michigan 61-60. Kansas State over Texas Rio Grande 93-59. Ole Miss over Alcorn State 73-58. Virginia Tech over Delaware State 95-57. Stephen F. Austin over Latorno 93-40. Number 17 Arizona over Nichols 117-75. Florida Gulf Coast upsets USC 74-61. Wow. Number 19 San Diego State over Fullerton 80-57. Number 21 Oregon over FAMU 80-45. Fresno State over Fresno Pacific 69-56. Bakersfield over San Diego Christian 68-35. Cal Poly over Vesteta 94-59. Cal State Northridge over La Sierra 90-55. San Francisco over Texas Southern 90-77. Loyola Marymount over Life Pacific 99-49. St. Mary's over Oral Roberts 78-70. Santa Clara over Eastern Washington 84-72. Long Beach State over Cal Baptist 79-64. UC Irvine over Chapman 96-50. UC Santa Barbara over San Fran State 75-59. Seattle over UC San Diego 85-71. Nevada over Utah Tech 84-71. Pepperdine over Rice 106-67. UNLV over Southern 66-56. San Diego over Sonoma State 81-59. Portland over Lewis and Clark 89-62. Washington over Weber State 69-52. Utah over Long Island 89-48. UC Davis over Cal 75-65. That's a bad bye game loss for them. Number 8 UCLA over Sacramento State 76-50. And Oregon State over Tulsa 73-70. Now we move on to a much smaller slate for today in college basketball, which is surprising, but at the same time not, because it's election day and they all obviously want everybody to vote. So Albany and Immaculata we can skip. First game of significance in terms of who's playing. 6:30 Fox Sports One Ryder in Providence. Should be an interesting game. My projection is Providence 16.5 total, 137 and 7/20. And I don't see a total, but Providence is laying 13. So I'm going to lay the points with Providence. Big Ten Network, Milwaukee, Purdue. My projection is Purdue 46, total 141 and 17/20. And it's 25.5, total is 140.5. I'm laying it with Purdue, no doubt about it. 7 o'clock, Sacred Heart and Hartford. My projection is Sacred Heart by 2, total 144 and 7/10. And it's 7.5 and 143.5. I'll take Hartford getting the points. Rochester and Detroit Mercy we can skip. Mercer and East Carolina. ECU is a 1.5 point home underdog. Total is 134.5. I have Mercer by 2, total 140 and 3/5. I was looking forward to betting Mercer as a dog. I was so excited. I'm really mad that Mercer's not a dog. Instead, give me the over. Montana and Duquesne. Duquesne's giving 4.5, totals 135.5. I have 7.5 and 138 and 17/20. Give me the over. Next up, SEC Network, SC State and South Carolina. South Carolina's giving a whopping 23.5, totals 138.5. I have 40.5 and 142 and 2/5. I'm laying it with South Carolina. 8:30 Fox Sports 1, Coppin State, Georgetown. Georgetown's giving 17.5, totals 150.5. I have 33.5 and 144 and 11/20. So give me Georgetown minus the points. And last but not least, 10 o'clock, Georgia Southern and San Jose State. San Jose State's giving 3.5, totals 136.5. I have 8 and 133.5. I'm going to lay the points with San Jose State. All right, now move on to the NBA. We'll recap the games from last night. And there are no games today because of Election Day. Adam Silver wants the players to go out and vote. Wizards over the Hornets, 108-100. Rockets over the Magic, 134-127. Pistons over the Thunder, 112-103. Pacers over the Pelicans, 129-122. Sixers over the Suns, 188. Hawks over the Bucks, 117-98. Blazers over the Heat, 110-107. Bulls over the Raptors, 111-97. Celtics over the Grizzlies, 109-106. Knicks over the T-Wolves, 120-107. Nuggets over the Spurs, 115-109. Mavs over the Nets, 96-94. Warriors over the Kings, 116-113 as they come back from a big deficit. Jazz over the Lakers, 139-116. And the Clippers over the Cavs, 119-117. All right, so the NBA resumes on Wednesday. And is everybody playing again? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So most of the league is playing. There's a couple teams with days off, but not everybody's playing tomorrow. All right, the NHL resumes tonight, though, not taking the day off. Bruins over the Blues 3-1. Isles over the Flames 4-3 in overtime on a game winner by Noah Dobson. And the Capitals knock off the Oilers 5-4. Big window today. 7 o'clock, you have the Coyotes at the Sabres. Sabres have been a pleasant surprise this season. They are minus 215. Arizona's plus 176. Over under 6.5. Overs minus 122. Unders even money. Coyotes plus 1.5 is minus 140. Sabres minus 1.5 is plus 112. That's a tough one. Let's go. First period result, the Sabres plus 122. Habs Red Wings. Red Wings minus 160. Canadians plus 136. Over under 6 minus 10 each way. Habs plus 1.5 is minus 188. Red Wings minus 1.5 is plus 152. Red Wings off to a good start this year. I'm going to go with the Red Wings in regulation at minus 106. Islanders Rangers from the Garden. Rangers. Wow, they're overpriced. Minus 184. Isles plus 152. Over under 6 minus 10 each way. Isles plus 1.5 is minus 172. Rangers minus 1.5 is plus 140. They're a bigger favorite in this game than they were against the Red Wings, which is odd. Rangers technically under 500. They're 6-7 technically on the year. Really, it's 6-4-3. So they're technically over 500. But if overtime losses counted as real losses, then they'd be under 500. Going with the under, I think that it's a low-scoring game between these two rivals with the two goalies that should be in net tonight. Flyers, Flames, Devils. This is a good one. The New Jersey's favored. Vegas is putting the minus by New Jersey. Calgary's plus 112, over under 7. Overs plus 114, unders minus 140. Flames plus 1.5 is minus 15. Devils minus 1.5 is plus 172. And going to Calgary on the road plus 112. Canucks Senators. Ottawa minus 125. Vancouver plus 104. Over under 6.5. Over is minus 130. Under is plus 106. Canucks plus 1.5 is minus 225. Ottawa minus 1.5 is plus 180. Neither of these teams are off to a good start. Give me the under. I think this is a Thatcher Demko game. Blues Flyers. Blues minus 120. Flyers even money. Over under 6.5. Over is minus 120. Under is minus 120. Blues minus 1.5 is plus 198. Flyers plus 1.5 is minus 250. I'm going to go with the Flyers at home and even money as a dog. Golden Knights Maple Leafs. Leafs minus 122. Vegas plus 102. Over under 6.5. Over is minus 105. Under is minus 115. Vegas plus 1.5 is minus 245. Toronto minus 1.5 is plus 194. I'm going to go with another dog in Vegas at plus 102. On TNT tonight, so TNT gets the Tuesday night game because of no basketball. Oilers Lightning, that's a good one. Connor McDavid against the three-time reigning Eastern Conference champions. Tampa minus 164, Edmonton plus 136, over under 7, overs plus 102, and there's minus 128. Edmonton plus 1.5 is minus 176, Lightning minus 1.5 is plus 142. Oilers have been a little mediocre. They're kind of like the Rangers in a way. Like, I just wouldn't, panic on them yet. I'm going to go with the Lightning in regulation at minus 108. 8 o'clock, Stars Jets. The Stars are minus 114 road favorites. Winnipeg's a minus 105 home underdog. Over under 6. Overs minus 114. Unders minus 106. Stars minus 1.5 is plus 220. Jets plus 1.5 is minus 280. I like the over. I think this will be a higher scoring game than people think. And 10 o'clock on TNT, you have the Predators and the Kraken. This should be an interesting game. Seattle's off to a good start. They're a home favorite, minus 115. Nashville's minus 104. Over under 6, minus 10 each way. Nashville plus 1.5 is minus 265. Seattle minus 1.5 is plus 2. I love the under. This is going to be an under game. These two teams play low-scoring games. And 10:30 from Crypto, you have Wild Kings. This is a pick of minus 10 each way. Over under 6.5. Overs even money. There's minus 132. Wild minus 1.5 is plus 220. Kings plus 1.5 is minus 280. I'm going to go with the Kings at home at minus 110. Home game. They should be fired up to play at home. And they're only a pick 'em against the Wild. So I'm going to take the Kings at minus 110 as a home pick 'em. All right, now we're going to do news and notes for today. Obviously, it's Election Day, and that's the biggest story of the day in the NBA. Is off today to make sure everybody votes. The biggest story from yesterday's sports, though, is that the Indianapolis Colts made a coaching change. They fired head coach Frank Reich, 3-5-1. And the gentleman that they hired to replace him as an intern is somebody that is in the media. This is classic Jim Irsay, living in the past. They bring in former Colts offensive lineman Jeff Saturday. That is the most ridiculous hire I've seen, whether it's intern or not, since John Gruden. I mean, I know you could say Urban Meyer, but I'm talking about in the moment. Because some people actually thought that the Urban Meyer hire would work out, but it didn't. This is the most laughable hire, live in the past hire, since the Raiders with John Gruden. And I can't believe that they actually just hired Jeff Saturday from off the street. I don't think this is going to work out at all. And Jeff Saturday says he was shocked to be hired. And Jim Irsay had a lot to say. And Jim Irsay, I don't think is a good owner. He's a Peyton Manning product, and he's somebody that I think just lives in the past. Like, even John Mara hired somebody outside the family to coach and be their general manager. If John freaking Mara can do that, somebody that's I've killed on this podcast for years could do that, so could Jim Irsay. Ridiculous. Jeff Bezos and Jay-Z's bid for the Commanders has a new potential investor, and that is Matthew McConaughey, which is very interesting. We'll see who else bids for this, and this is going to be an interesting storyline to follow. But Baker has a high ankle sprain, out 2 to 3 weeks. That is a brutal loss for the Cardinals secondary. Josh Allen will likely be limited this week in practice with a minor elbow injury, but is just considered a situation to monitor right now. That would make sense for an excuse for him to, have a bad game. So I heard rumblings that he got hurt in that game, but we don't know how true it is. And then his elbow is being evaluated as he has an injury in his UCL and has relative nerves. Team hopes to have more information on Tuesday, so it looks like he is really hurt. Giants safety Xavier McKinney out multiple weeks as he suffered a hand injury during the bye week after an ATV accident in Cabo. Yikes. The Giants haven't had anything moronic happen like that all season, and here we are. Luckily, they have two terrible teams coming up in the Lions and the Texans. So it's not like they're missing him for Dallas and Philadelphia. Jets defensive tackle Sheldon Rankins dislocated his elbow as he may miss 4 weeks. That is a brutal loss for the Jets. He's been a great pickup for them. Aaron Jones was spotted in a walking boot, and he should play on Sunday, so that is good news for the Packers. And then, speaking of Jeff Saturday, there is an old tweet that surfaced from October 30th, and he said, Raiders look horrible. And now he's going to be coaching against them. The funniest thing that happened last night is that Adam Schefter went shirtless with gold chains and a Michigan necklace during the Monday Night Football broadcast taken after Kirk Cousins. That was so funny. Adam's the best, and that was just pure entertainment. Yankees first baseman Anthony Rizzo opts out after a career-high 32 home runs. I think he's brought him back, but you never know. The MLB award finalists came out last night, and most of them are accurate. So the managers of the year. National League, Dave Roberts, Buck Showalter, Brian Snitker, Terry Francona, Brandon Hyde, Scott Cervase. I think these are the right calls in both leagues. American League nailed it on the head. Surprise division winner, surprising competitive team, and Cervase broke the longest playoff drought, or helped. And then National League, you have two NL East managers and Dave Roberts. I think Rob Thompson was robbed. No pun intended. That's ridiculous. And he would have been my pick. I mean, I understand that you would think that it's coming off the fact that he took them to the World Series. He took them to the playoffs after a slow start and firing their managers because of what that team went through. And he held them together, and they made the postseason. So I think that Rob Thompson was robbed of this award. But it's probably going to go to Buck Showalter because it's Buck Showalter, and he took the Mets to the playoffs. Rookies of the Year. National League, we have Brendan Donovan of the Cardinals and Michael Harris II and Spencer Strider of the Braves. And in the American League, we have Stephen Kwan, Julio Rodriguez, and Adley Rutschman. Stacked class. And I think that these were the right picks for each side. Cy Youngs. The American League, you have Dylan Cease, Alec Manoah, and Justin Verlander. And the National League, Sandy Alcantara, Max Fried, and Julio Urias. MVP, Yordan Alvarez, Shohei Ohtani, and Aaron Judge. In the American League. In the National League, Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt, and Manny Machado. So there's your award finalists, and I'll do my predictions on who wins each awards on next week's podcast. All right, Election Day we'll get to in a second. A couple more news and notes items. Angels general manager Perry Minasian makes it clear Shohei Ohtani is not going anywhere this offseason. Are we sure? I saw Dave Gettleman a couple years ago here in New York say we didn't sign Odell to trade him, and then a month later Odell was traded. So never, ever, ever trust the word from a general manager. It's lying season. Phillies second baseman Gene Segura declines option and will become a free agent. So that's interesting. Basketball, Ben Simmons came back from the Nets against the Mavs. LeBron did not play against the Jazz, neither did Lonnie Walker. And Zion Williamson talks weight criticism as he says it was a lot to hear people criticizing him while rehabbing from foot injury. And then a big golf match, Saturday, December 10th, under the lights, Tiger against Rory. Or it's Tiger and Rory against JT and Jordan Spieth. 6 o'clock on TNT. That is awesome stuff. Alrighty. Now we'll move on to Election Day. Obviously, this is something I like to have fun with on the show that's not related to sports, because it is a big deal here in the country. We have a lot of gubernatorials, and we have a lot of senates, and we have a lot of Congress. We're just going to do gubernatorials and senates because those are the ones that are big. So gubernatorials will go in alphabetical order. We'll start at Alabama. It's Kay Ivey against Yolanda Flowers. Kay Ivey, obviously, is the incumbent. And she has a good reputation in her state and among her peers. And there's some blue counties in Alabama, but I think that Kay Ivey is going to win by maybe a 60% margin. It was 59-6, the 40.4 between her and Walt Maddox 4 years ago. There's some blue counties, in the southern middle part of Alabama, like Montgomery County, and then even in the middle of the state, like Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, which is Jefferson County, and then Tuscaloosa County. Those are low-key blue counties in Alabama. But I do think that Kay Ivey, because of the smaller counties, tend to vote red a lot. So I'm going to say Kay Ivey wins Alabama. Next up is Alaska. You have Mike Dunleavy and Les Guerra, and also Bill Walker and Charlie Pierce. Dunleavy's the incumbent, and I think that Dunleavy should win this going away. And Dunleavy beat Mark Begich, the Democratic, by about 7% and 40,000 votes in 2018. So I think Dunleavy should win that comfortably. Arizona, you have two women going at it. Carly Lake, the Republican, and Katie Hobbs, the Democrat. Obviously, Doug Ducey's the incumbent. He will not rerun because he's term limited. So Arizona is going to have a new governor. And it's going to be interesting with Zona. Doug Ducey won 56% to 41.8. Maricopa County, where Phoenix is a red county, which helps. Pima County in Zona is where Tuscan is. That's a blue county. Maybe. I don't see Katie Hobbs winning it. I think Carly Lake will win because of the Phoenix area, as she will gather a lot of votes there. Next up is Arkansas. You have Republican Sarah Huckabee Sanders and Democrat Chris Jones. Asa Hutchinson's the Republican incumbent, but she's term limited, so she will not run. It's going to be interesting with Arkansas. In 2018, Asa Hutchinson ran away over Jaron Henderson in the race. Washington County, where Fayetteville is, was 52 or is about 12% difference between red and blue. Sebastian County, where Fort Smith is a red county, heavy red. Little Rock, that's Pulaski County. Blue won that by about 5% 4 years ago. And then Jonesboro, that's Craighead County, heavy red. So I think that Huckabee Sanders should win that relatively easy. California, obviously it's Gavin Newsom and Brian Daley. Newsom's the incumbent. I think Newsom's going to win running away. Like, I'd be stunned if he got upset. To me, this is the lock of all locks in terms of blue wave. LA's heavy blue. San Diego County's heavy blue. Sacramento County is not heavy blue, but comfortably blue. San Jose, that is Santa Clara County, that's heavy blue. But the one big city in California that's red is Fresno. That county was red 4 years ago, but it was barely red. That could flip the blue. I think Newsom's going to win this by over 4 million votes over Brian Daley. Colorado, you have Jared Polis against Heidi Gonahy. Polis is obviously the incumbent. I think he has a good chance to repeat here. So Polis over Walker Stapleton 4 years ago won by about 300,000 votes. It's funny with Colorado, all the smaller counties and towns are red. But the one county that's red, that's actually a big county, is El Paso County. From 4 years ago, Colorado Springs is located there. And then, obviously, Denver's very heavy blue. Larimer County, where Fort Collins is blue. Pueblo County, where Pueblo is blue. I think Polis wins, but it's going to be like 50 to 40. I see it being like 50 to 46%. I think that's going to be a close race in Colorado. All right, here's an interesting one. Connecticut. You have Ned Lamont, the Democratic incumbent, against Bob Stefanowski. This was the matchup 4 years ago, and Lamont barely won. And I mean barely. He won by like 40,000 votes. But the case for Lamont to repeat is that Hartford County, New Haven County, and Fairfield County, where the three biggest cities in the state are Hartford, New Haven, and Bridgeport, were all blue. New Haven County is the one that could flip and could determine this race. Lamont won New Haven County by 7,000 votes. So New Haven County could flip. I think Lamont is one of the Democratic governors in trouble that are incumbents today. And in terms of the red counties from 4 years ago, Talon County barely, by 2,000 votes. Middlesex County won by about 2,000, and Litchfield County was comfortably red. I don't see Hartford County and Fairfield County flipping, although Fairfield County is 53-45 to 1.8 in terms of percentages. So Lamont won by 28,000 votes in Fairfield County low case. So Lamont could be in trouble, and I think he barely edges out Bob Stefanowski again. I mean, barely, and I'm going to capitalize the word. Here's a fun one. Florida. I think out of the Republican governors, I think that Florida Governor Ron DeSantis could be in trouble in terms of his chances of taking back office. Haley won by 0.4% over Andrew Gillum in the election 4 years ago. And this time he's going up against Charlie Crist. And all the big cities in Florida are blue cities, pretty much. Are blue counties. So that's making the case for Crist. But make the case for DeSantis is that all the smaller counties and towns are heavy red, and that could favor DeSantis. Leon County, where Tallahassee was comfortably blue in 2018. Duval County, or Jacksonville, is making the case for DeSantis here is that was barely blue. It was only by 4%, and the difference in votes, it was 17,000 between Gillum and DeSantis. Orange County, where Orlando is comfortably blue. And even Osceola County, where Kissimmee is comfortably blue. Hillsborough County, where Tampa is 53-9, 44-9 from 4 years ago. And then Pinellas County, where St. Pete and Clearwater was actually pretty close, because that's one that could flip. That was 57, 47.7, and 1.6. I mean 50.7. So 13,000 separated those votes, so that could flip. West Palm Beach, that's Palm Beach County, comfortably blue. Miami-Dade County is a very liberal county. And Broward County, which is where Fort Lauderdale is, very comfortably blue. St. Lucie County, where Port St. Lucie is, that's one that could flip in Florida from 4 years ago. That was 51-3, 47-6. So Gillum won that by 5,000 votes. So I think that DeSantis is going to win again. And I think some of those, like St. Lucie County, Duval County, there on the east coast of Florida, could flip a little bit to red. Those are two counties I think could flip the red for DeSantis and his chances of repeating. Next up is Georgia. You have Brian Kemp and Stacey Abrams. I think Brian Kemp is in big trouble in Georgia. Abrams ran 4 years ago against him, and Kemp won by only 50,000 votes. I think that Abrams has an excellent chance here. That Atlanta area, Fulton County, very heavy blue. Clark County, where Athens is heavy blue. Richmond County, where Augusta is, very heavy blue. Savannah County, or Chatham County, where Savannah is, comfortably blue. Bibb County, where Macon is, very comfortably blue. Muskogee County, where Columbus is, very heavy blue. So this is where I'm going to predict not an upset, but I wouldn't be shocked if Abrams is the favorite here. But I think this is where it could flip. So I'm going to say that Stacey Abrams knocks off Brian Kemp because I think Georgia has become very like a blue state, and that was a state that Biden won in 2020 as well. Next up is Hawaii. Very small in terms of counties, obviously. Very heavy state in terms of blue for Hawaii. David Ige barely defeated Andrea Tupula, or not barely, but comfortably beaten Andrea Tupula. And Ige term limited, so it's going to be Josh Green against Duke Iona. I think Josh Green runs away with that one comfortably. As I mentioned, Hawaii, a very blue state. Idaho's up next. It's Brad Little against Stephen Height. This is another one that I think is an easy call. Brad Little's the incumbent. He should run away with this again. But there are a couple blue counties in Idaho. Ada County, where Boise is, barely was blue. That could flip the red. Paulette Jordan, the Democratic nominee in 2018, barely knocked off Little in Ottawa County. That was by 2,000 votes. And all the other big cities in Idaho are red counties. Bonneville County, where Idaho Falls is, and Bannock County, where Pocatello is. I think Little's going to run away with that one. Next up's Illinois. It's J.B. Pritzker against Darren Bailey. Pritzker's obviously the incumbent. The interesting thing about Illinois is that there is a lot of people in that state that vote independent there. Pritzker comfortably beat Bruce Rauner 4 years ago, 54.5%, 38.8%, and won by almost 1 million votes. It's because of Chicago, Cook County, very blue county, Winnebago County, where Rockford is. Making the case for Darren Bailey here is that Rockford, Winnebago County, only by 2,000 votes, Pritzker won that county. Peoria County, the funny thing is that was only by 3,000 votes, like about 4.6% separation. Sangamon County, where Springfield is actually a red county, it was barely red. So you're making a case for Pritzker to steal votes from there. That was only by 3,000 approximately. And then Champaign County, where Champaign is comfortably blue. I think Pritzker wins that election comfortably. Iowa's next. You have Kim Reynolds, the incumbent, against Deidre DeJar. This is an interesting one, too. So, she won Reynolds over Democratic nominee Fred Hubel by about 37,000 votes in Iowa. 50.3%, 47.5% in 2018. A couple of blue counties where big cities are, if you want to make the case for Deidre DeJar. One of the red counties that has a big city is Sioux City, Woodbury County. Polk County, where Des Moines is blue. Lynn County was blue, which is where Cedar Rapids is. And Scott County, where Davenport is, was barely blue. It was by 2.5%, like about 3,000 votes separated. I think that Kim Reynolds is going to win, but I think it's going to be interesting. All right, so Kansas. Laura Kelly, the Democratic incumbent, against Derek Schmidt. This is another interesting one, in my opinion. So Laura Kelly won by 5%. And about 53,000 votes. Or, I'm sorry, yeah, about 53,000 votes. All right. Making the case for her repeat, the big, the big counties, big cities are blue. Wichita, which is Sedgwick County, 6%. So it's only 11,000 separated the Republican nominee, Chris Kobach, there. Shawnee County, where Topeka is, the capital of Kansas, comfortably blue. And then Wyandotte County, where Kansas City is, very comfortably blue. This could be a flip, but I'm not predicting a flip here. I think that Laura Kelly will win this one. Next up is Maine. Janet Mills, the Democratic incumbent, against Paul LePage. This is going to be another interesting one. Janet Mills won by about 7% last election over Sean Moody, the Republican. All right, so making the case for LePage. Penobscot County, where Bangor is, was a red county. Only 2,000 votes separated, about 4%. And then Portland, Cumberland County, very blue. So Southern Maine's very blue. I think Janet Mills wins. All right, so Maryland's going to have a new governor. Larry Hogan, the Republican incumbent, term limited. It's going to be Dan Cox, the Republican, against Wes Moore, the Democrat. This is another interesting election, in my opinion. Larry Hogan won by about 200,000 votes over Ben Jealous. All right, so Baltimore is a very blue town. Montgomery County, where Rockville is, was a blue county, and Frederick County, where Frederick is, very comfortably red. And then Prince George County is very heavy blue. So it's, but Charles County, though, is barely blue. That could flip the red. That differential is only 0.5% and about 1,000 votes. So I think that Dan Cox will get it done. Massachusetts, Jeff Dale against Maura Healey. Charlie Baker, the Republican incumbent, will be gone. He's term limited. So this should be another interesting gubernatorial election. Charlie Baker did a good job 4 years ago. Every county in Massachusetts turned out to be red, which is wild. Middlesex County, where Lowell is, comfortably red. Suffolk County, where Boston is, barely red, only by 3,000 votes. Worcester County, where Worcester is, very comfortably red. And Hampden County, where Springfield is, very comfortably red. So the crazy thing here is that I never would have guessed that Charlie Baker won every county. But where I think is going to be interesting is Suffolk County or Boston. I think that's going to flip the blue. But ultimately, I do think that Jeff Deal will win this election. This is an interesting one, guys. Michigan. Gretchen Whitmer, the Democratic incumbent governor, against Tudor Dixon. The polls are a lot closer in Michigan than you may expect them to be. Whitmer won by 10% last year, or 4 years ago, over Bill Chattay, and a little under 1 million votes. So Wayne County, where Detroit is, very heavily blue. Waukesha County, where Ann Arbor is, very heavy blue. Ingham County, where Lansing is, heavy blue. Kent County, where Grand Rapids is, did it run away with it for Whitmer. Only 12,000 votes separated Whitmer from Chattay. So the case for in Kalamazoo County was comfortably blue as well. So this is where I think we'll have an upset. I think that the big upset in terms of a Democrat incumbent losing will be here with Gretchen Whitmer. I think Tudor Dixon's going to win. I think that those smaller counties are going to show out and show off. I think that she may steal votes from Kent County. Marquette County is heavily blue. Maybe she steals some votes from Geauga County. Bay County was barely blue. Maybe that's a switch. So I actually think that this is the upset. I think Tudor Dixon wins here. Minnesota, it's Tim Walz, the Democrat, against Scott Jansen, the Republican. Obviously, Walz is a incumbent. The odd thing here, we had a tie in Norman County in Minnesota. 47-7 each for Walz and Republican nominee from 2018, Jeff Johnson, and 4.5% for other, which is odd. So, Minneapolis, very blue city. That is Hennepin County, very heavy blue. Olmsted County, where Rochester is, comfortably blue, not heavy blue. 8,000 votes separated them, 12%. And then St. Louis County, where Duluth is a blue county as well. All those smaller counties are red. But I think that the bigger counties, and especially Minneapolis, that's going to be the county that is very heavy blue, and that's where I think the difference for Tim Walz is he's going to repeat, I think. Nebraska, yeah, Pete Pickett's the incumbent not running, term limited. It's going to be Republican Jim Pillett and Democrat Carol Blood. This is going to be a very interesting one, in my opinion. So it was Ricketts against a guy, Bob Christ, in 2018. It was 59 to 41%. About I'd say about like 130,000 votes separated. So this state is very comfortably red. There's a couple blue counties. Douglas County, where Omaha is, 6%. Bob Kist won that county over Pete Ricketts. And by about 12,000 votes. And Lancaster County, where Lincoln is, that was about 11% and 13,000 votes. This is easy. I think Pillen's going to win this one comfortably. All right, Nevada, you have incumbent Steve Sisolak going up against Republican Joe Lombardo. This is an interesting one. Sisolak beat Adam Laxalt by about 40,000 votes and percentage of like just under 4%, or just over 4%, my mistake. So Clark County, where Vegas is, was comfortably blue. It was about 14% and about 84,000 votes. And in Washoe County, where Reno is, was barely blue. Sisolak won that county by 2.3% and by about 4,000 votes. I think Sisolak's another Democratic governor in trouble. I'm going to call for the upset here and say that Joe Lombardo unseats Steve Sisolak in that one. New Hampshire, you have Republican incumbent Chris Sununu and Tom Sherman, the Democrat, going at it. So this is another interesting one. So Sununu beat Molly Kelly by about 7% and 40,000 votes. So what's in favor of Sununu for his chances of repeating is that some big city counties were red. Merrimack County, where Concord is, was actually barely red. 4.6%. Sununu beat Molly Kelly there, 3,000 votes. And then Hillsborough County, where Nashua and Manchester are, by 10% and by 15,000 votes. So that's pretty good. And then Stratford County, where Dover is, Molly Kelly actually won that county by 1.5% and by about just under 1,000 votes. So I think Sununu is safe here. New Mexico, you have incumbent Democrat Michelle Lujan Grisham against Mark Ronchetti. This is going to be an interesting gubernatorial race, in my opinion. So Lujan Grisham defeated Republican Steve Pierce by 15%. The case for Lujan Grisham to repeat is that the big city counties are all blue. Donna Ana County, where Los Cruces is, comfortably blue. Bernalillo County, where Albuquerque is, very heavy blue. And Santa Fe County, where Santa Fe is, very heavy blue. So I think Lujan Grisham is safe. Here's a fun one, guys. New York. This is a one that a lot of my listeners are interested in. I think that this is going to be one of the more interesting ones. Andrew Cuomo won this election by 1.4 million votes. But obviously he is no longer governor. He resigned. Kathy Hochul took over. And she is the incumbent. She'll be running up against Republican Lee Zeldin. There's a lot of polls that suggest that Hochul's in trouble. There's a lot of smaller counties in New York that are pretty red, but there's a couple of them that could flip the blue. So Richmond County, that is Staten Island, so they vote for governor too. Was a slight win for Cuomo, but don't forget, Staten Island was the one borough in the mayoral election last year that Mayor Adams did not win. So let's not forget that. New York County's very heavy blue. Kings County's heavy blue. Nassau County and Long Island, heavy blue. Suffolk County actually is not as comfortable a blue as you would think. 5.1% Cuomo won that county over Mark Molinaro back in 2018. So about a difference of 27% or 27,000 and 5.1%. And in Nassau is actually comfortably, not necessarily convincingly. And then the Bronx, very heavy blue. Queens, heavy blue. Westchester County, comfortably blue. Rockland County was blue, but only by 10.3% and 10,000 votes. An interesting county in New York that Cuomo lost was Orange County. He lost that county by 3.3%. So maybe Zedlin can win that county. That's a heavy populated county. Albany County, 12% blue. Won by 14,000 votes by Cuomo. Onondaga County, where Syracuse is, actually only 4% blue and 11,000 votes separated them. That could be a county that Zedlin could win. Monroe County, where Rochester is, Cuomo only won that county by like 8.6% and by 25,000 votes. And Erie County, where Buffalo is, that was surprisingly a narrow win for Cuomo too back in 2018 by 7.1% and about 24,000 votes. So this is probably the hardest call on the board, but I'm going to say Cuomo barely wins. I'm going to say it's like 54, or I don't want to say barely, but it's a little, I'm going to say that it's interesting, but Cuomo, my God, Hochul pulls away. I'm going to say it's like 54.2% to 44 something percent. I don't know, something in that range. She'll win by 10%. That's my guess. And I think the difference for Hochul is New York City. But making the case for Zedlin, Staten Island, Onondaga County flips. He gets some votes in Erie County. And then Monroe County, where Rochester is, could flip as well. All right, Ohio. Incumbent governor, Republican Mike DeWine and Nan Whaley. This is going to be another interesting one, in my opinion. If I'm not mistaken, I think Biden won Ohio in 2020. So it's this. In 2018, it was DeWine against Richard Cordray. DeWine won by about 200,000 votes. So make the case for him not to win. The big cities come through in the blue wave. So Lucas County, where Toledo is, was comfortably blue. Cuyahoga County, Cleveland, very blue. Summit County, where Akron is, comfortably blue. Franklin County, where Columbus is, comfortably blue. Hamilton County, where Cincinnati is, only was blue by just under 10% and 43,000 votes by Richard Cardway. And then Montgomery County, where Dayton is, was barely red. So I feel like Montgomery County, where Dayton is going to flip the blue, actually. That was a very close vote. by 0.1% he won. So, Montgomery County, that was a win for DeWine, only by 209 votes, amazingly enough. That's just scary, for his sake. And then, Athens County was comfortably blue as well. I think DeWine wins, but it's going to be close yet again. Oklahoma, you have Republican incumbent Kevin Stitt against Joy Hofsmiter. This is going to be an interesting one. Stitt won by just about 12% over Drew Edmondson in 2018, and by about 144,000 votes. So Tulsa County was a red county, only by 6,000 votes 4 years ago. That could flip. Oklahoma County was blue by just under 12%. Cleveland County was barely blue. Cherokee County was blue, and so was Muskogee County. I think Stitt should be safe there. Oregon, so you have Kate Brown, who's the incumbent, term limited. So Tina Kotek on Christine Drazen, and Betsy Johnson. So Oregon hasn't had a Republican governor in 40 years, which is crazy. I would have not expected that at all, considering very blue states such as California has had a Republican governor more recently than that. So Kate Brown won by just under 7% of the vote in 2018, and by about 120,000 votes as well. So Lane County, where Eugene is comfortably blue. Multnomah County, which was where Portland is heavy blue. Washington County, comfortably blue. Marion County, where Salem was red in 2018 by 8,000 votes. Dutchess County, where Bend was red by about 9,000 votes, and by about just under 10%. And then Jackson County, where Medford was red by 9.2% and about 8,000 votes. So this is going to be an interesting one, in my opinion. And all the big cities are comfortably blue, like Portland and such. And that's why I do not think that they'll have a Republican governor yet. I think Tina Kotek wins. Here's another interesting one for the show. Pennsylvania. You have Josh Shapiro and Doug Mastriano going head-to-head. Shapiro, the Democrat, and Mastriano, the Republican. Tom Wolf, term limited. Pennsylvania is one that can flip, I think. So Tom Wolf won by 17.1% back in 2018, and by about 800,000 votes. All right, so so let's go over. So Philadelphia County is heavy blue. We know that. Bucks County actually was blue by 18%. Lehigh County, where Allentown is, very heavy blue. Center County, comfortably blue. Cumberland County, where Harrisburg is, was barely blue. That's only by about 3,000 votes separated at 3%. And Dauphin County was comfortably blue. Allegheny County, that's Pittsburgh, heavy blue. Beaver County, comfortably blue. And A county I'm interested in for sure in Pennsylvania to see where they fall is Dauphin County in Pennsylvania. I think that's an interesting one to follow. That was actually a blue county. So that's where Hershey is. And that is actually a very red county from a reputation standpoint. But Tom Wolfe won that county, Dauphin County, by just under 20%. So this is, I think, going to be interesting. And Erie County, by the way, very comfortably blue. I think that Josh Shapiro wins because I think he has good endorsements as well. Rhode Island incumbent Dan McKee against Ashley Callis. This is going to be an interesting one. As McKee goes for the win here. Gina Raimondo resigned a year and a half ago, and then McKee took over. Raimondo won comfortably over Alan Fung. Providence County, comfortably blue. So there's only a few counties in Rhode Island. And the only county that was red was Kent County, and it was barely red by only 0.4%. I think that McKee's going to win this one going away. South Carolina, Henry McMaster, the incumbent Republican against Joe Cunningham. That's another interesting one for sure. So in terms of the maps here, so McMaster won by only 6%, amazingly enough. All right, so York County, where Rock Hill is, comfortably red. Greenville County, where Greenville is, comfortably red from 4 years ago. Richland County, where Columbia is, very heavy blue. Horry County, Myrtle Beach, comfortably red. Williamsburg County, comfortably blue. Cherokee County, comfortably red. And Charleston County, where Charleston is, was comfortably blue. So this is going to be an interesting one, and I think McMaster wins comfortably. South Dakota, you have Christy Noem, the Republican incumbent, against Jamie Smith. This is going to be another interesting one. Noem won barely over Billy Sutton, actually. So making the case for Jamie Smith here. Brown County, where Aberdeen is, barely blue. Cottington County, where Watertown is, comfortably red 4 years ago. Minnehaha County, where Sioux Falls is, blue, but it was like just over 7%. And then Pennington County, where Rapid City is, comfortably red. I think Noem wins, but barely. Tennessee, it's Bill Lee, the incumbent Republican, against Jason Martin. Tennessee is a very red state. So Bill Lee won comfortably over Carl Dean in 2018. Shelby County, where Memphis is blue. Hamilton County, where Chattanooga is, was red. Davidson County, where Nashville is, heavily blue. And then Knox County, where Knoxville is, comfortably red. I think that Bill Lee will probably win this. And in Texas, you have Greg Abbott, the incumbent Republican, against Beto O'Rourke. This is going to be another interesting one. Texas is a very heavy red state, but there are some blue counties and blue spots in that state. Tarrant County, where Fort Worth is, comfortably red in the 2018 gubernatorial, where Greg Abbott won by just over 13%. Dallas County, where obviously Dallas was a blue county. Nueces County, Corpus Christi, comfortably red. Harris County, where Houston is, barely blue, only by just under 6%. That Abbott lost that county. And in El Paso County, where El Paso is comfortably blue. Big Sur County, where San Antonio was barely blue. Just under 7%. And about 34,000 votes. And in Travis County, where Austin is, it's comfortably blue. And Abbott won by about 1 million votes. I think Abbott's safe. Will win that comfortably. A couple more gubernatorials to go. Vermont, you have the incumbent Phil Scott against Brenda Siegel. Vermont is a super small state, obviously. Phil Scott should repeat. Rutland County, heavy red. Washington County, where Montpelier is, the capital, comfortably red. And then Chittenden County, where Burlington is actually was actually barely red, only by 3,000 votes. And the only blue county was Windham County, and it was a comfortable blue. So I think that Phil Scott has this one. And then two more. Wisconsin, you have Tony Evers against Tim Michaels. Tony Evers, the incumbent Democrat. Evers barely beat Scott Walker in 2018. Only by 1.1%. So Eau Claire County, comfortably blue. Brown County, where Green Bay was red. Dane County, where Madison is, heavy blue. Milwaukee County, heavy blue. Kenosha County, where Kenosha is, barely blue, only by 4%, and a 3,000 vote differential. So the southern part of Wisconsin's blue, but like the middle and a little bit of the north is red, including Green Bay County. So this is a tough one to project. And Evers only won by a handful of votes. So I think Evers repeats, but I think the big cities are the difference there. And last but not least, Wyoming. Obviously, it's incumbent Mark Gordon, the Republican, against Teresa Livingston. So I think Gordon's in a good spot. He comfortably beat Mary Throne 4 years ago. Natrona County, where Casper is, comfortably red, and then the county the capital of Wyoming, Cheyenne, Laramie County, comfortable too. So I think that Gordon's gonna win that one. All right, and now the Senate. We're gonna do rapid fire. I think between Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell. So this is gonna be very interesting. This is a tough call. I think this is the big cities come through. I think Schumer wins, but it's going to be close. All right. Alabama, it's Kate Britt against Will Boyd. Richard Shelby, the incumbent. Shelby's not re-electing. I'm going to say that Katie Britt wins. All right, so Alaska, incumbent Lisa Murkowski, other Republican Kelly Chewbacca, and then Pat Chesbrough, the Democrat. I'm going to say Murkowski wins. Arizona, you have Democrat Mark Kelly, the incumbent, against Blake Masters. This is a tough one. This is where big cities come through. I think Kelly's back. Arkansas, You have incumbent Republican John Boozman and Natalie James. I'm going to say Boozman. California, Alex Padilla, the Democrat against Mark Mooser. We're going to say Padilla. Colorado, Michael Bennett, the Democrat against Joe O'Dea. I'm going to say Bennett wins that. Connecticut, incumbent Richard Blumenthal, the Democrat against Leora Levy. I'm going to say Blumenthal wins. Florida, this is going to be interesting. Marco Rubio, the Republican, against Val Demings. I'm going to say Rubio barely. This is a funny one. So it's Raphael Warnock, the Democrat, against Herschel Walker. Although I have Brian Adams losing his Brian Kemp, and I have Stacey Abrams beating Brian Kemp. I actually think Herschel Walker unseats Raphael Warnock. All right, incumbent Democrat Brian Schatz against Bob McDermott in Hawaii. I think Schatz wins that. Idaho, it's incumbent Mike Crapo, Republican against David Roth. I'm going to say Crapo wins that. Illinois, it's incumbent Democrat Tammy Duckworth against Kathy Salvi. I'm going to say Duckworth wins. Indiana, incumbent Republican Todd Young against Thomas McDermott. I'm going to say Young wins that. Iowa, incumbent Chuck Grassley, Republican against Democrat Michael Franken. Let's say Grassley wins that. Kansas, incumbent Jerry Moran against Mark Holland. I'm going to go with Moran. Kentucky, this is an interesting one. Incumbent Rand Paul against Charles Booker. Rand Paul should win that one. Louisiana, it's one-term Republican John Kennedy announces intention to run for a second term. And in civil rights activist Gary Chalmers and U.S. Navy veteran Luke Mixon are running as Democrats. I'd say Kennedy wins that. Maryland, Democrat Chris Van Hollen against Chris Chaffee. Let's go with Van Hollen. Missouri, Eric Schmidt against Trudy Bush Valentine. Roy Blunt is not rerunning. I'm going to go with Eric Schmidt there. Nevada, Catherine Cortez Masto, the incumbent Democrat, against Adam Blackstall. The Republican, I think Cortez Masto is good. New Hampshire, incumbent Maggie Hassan against Don Bolduc. Let's go with Hassan there. New York, obviously it's Chuck Schumer against Joe Pinion. I'm going to say Schumer wins. And New York City's the difference in the votes. North Carolina, it's Ted Budd, the Republican, against Cherry Beasley, the Democrat. Richard Burr is not rerunning. I'm going to say this one flips the blue. I'd say Cherry Beasley wins that one. North Dakota, John Hoeven against Katrina Christensen. I say Hoeven is back. Ohio, you have Republican J.D. Vance and Democrat Tim Ryan. Republican incumbent Rob Portman not running. I actually think Tim Ryan can win. Let's go with that. It's a little bit of an upset there. Oklahoma has two. The regular, it's James Langford against Madison Horn. Langford, the Republican incumbent. I think he wins that one. In the special, it's Kendra Horn, the Democrat, against Mark Wayne Mullen, the Republican. I think Mullen wins that. Oregon, you have incumbent Democrat Ron Wyden against Joe Ray Perkins. I think Wyden wins that. Pennsylvania, you have incumbent Senator Pat Toomey, who's not running. You have Mehmet Oz against John Fetterman. I think Oz can win this because of he's a big name. So I think the host of the Dr. Oz show will win that one. South Carolina, you have Republican Tim Scott against Crystal Matthews. Let's go with Tim Scott. I think he's great. South Dakota, John Thune, the Republican incumbent, against Brian Banks. I think Thune wins that. Utah, Mike Lee, incumbent Republican, against Evan McMullen, the independent. Mike Lee's going to run away with that one. Vermont, Patrick Leahy, the Democratic incumbent, not running. Peter Walsh is running against Gerald McCoy. I think this is one that flips. Let's go with Gerald McCoy. And in Washington, you have incumbent Democrat Patty Murray and Tiffany Smiley. I say Pat Murray wins that. And then last but not least, Wisconsin, you have Ron Johnson, an incumbent Republican, against Mandela Barnes. I'm going to say that Ron Johnson wins that one. So that's it for election. News and notes time. Wow. That took way longer than I anticipated. So best bet of the day, we are going to go to college football, and I'm going to take a half unit and put it on the over in the Ball State Toledo game. I think that is a low total, and that's going to be a shootout. So give me over 50.5 between Ball State and Toledo and Maction as my best bet of the day. Super long show, a lot of election talk. That was the big focus of today's show. It took an hour, amazingly enough, a 90-minute show, which is saying a lot. All right, tomorrow's the usual show, and hope you guys have a great day, everyone.